What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp rendering tutorial for you. So today we're going to talk about creating an interior rendering that's lit by exterior light, so like light coming in through a window. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So first of all, I apologize, it's probably going to be a pretty quick video. I don't have a whole lot of time this morning, but I just wanted to kind of walk you through, first of all, the scene that I've set up, and just kind of some of the presets to show you kind of how I'm getting the results that I'm getting, and it's basically something that you can kind of build on. So anyway, what I've done is I've just kind of modeled this room in here, and it's a pretty basic room. It's got a couple of chairs from the 3D warehouse and a wall shelf. So there's nothing really special about it. It's just basically a square box that I've created that's got solid walls on the back and then glass material on the inside over here. And I've just basically created that to come in here and be able to give you kind of a sample rendering. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the shadows. So the shadows are really important. Oh, well, first of all, so we're going to be doing all of this in Twilight Render like we always have, and I've talked about why in the past, but basically the hobby version is free, and so everyone can download it and follow along. But so basically what we're going to, and you can download that from twilightrender.com. So anyway, what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to turn on our shadows. So shadows are going to be a huge deal when it comes to the way that we're creating this rendering here, because the shadows are basically going to create how, or the sunlight in SketchUp is going to create how all your shadows look, how all your lighting looks, everything like that. And that's probably the most important thing that I'm going to talk about right now, is the orientation of your model matters, because SketchUp actually treats this like it has a physical sun and all of that. So I know a lot of you know that if you come over here to the shadows section of your tray, you can adjust where the lighting is coming from based on different times of day, different times of year, stuff like that. And you can see how this shadow moves, but you can also see how none of the light is being cast inside my building because the way I have it oriented in my model right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to rotate my model using the rotate tool, and I've just selected everything, and I'm basically telling it to rotate, and we've moved it basically 180 degrees. But now you can see when you look inside your building, all of your objects are casting shadows on the floor. So now you can come in here and you can play with the lighting however you want to and make it kind of do what you want it to do. But the way that you orient your model is going to matter in the way the shadows look in your SketchUp model. So like for example, I tried to render with something like this before, and I had it set up where it was facing away from the sun, kind of like what I had there, and I could never get the shadows to show up properly, and that's why. So anyway, that's going to be the first thing. So the next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to come in here, you're going to hide these walls for a minute, just so you can come in here and work with some of this stuff. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to come in here, and you can see how SketchUp is kind of casting the shadows that you want, and it's got the materials that you want in here. I've got kind of a shiny floor. These are couches that I downloaded from the 3D warehouse. All of this is straight out of the 3D warehouse except the windows and stuff, which I created myself, and I've got kind of a glass material on these faces in here. So, all right. There we go. So actually what I had in here, that's funny, I had accidentally deleted out the glass material in here completely. So I went ahead and put a face back across this in order so that I actually had a glass material in here. So you can see how it's not quite as bright coming through as it was. But anyway, you're going to... So for the first material, when you create this kind of window wall, and basically this is just several different components over here, but it's a wall with glass in the middle of it, you can just come in here and you can set that to this translucent glass gray for right now. And you can come in here and you can edit the opacity in the material section if you want, just to kind of change the way that this looks. But it's not really going to matter because we're going to use Twilight Render's material presets anyway. So there's two things that are going to be important when we do this. The first is going to be our material presets, and the second is going to be our camera angle. So first thing I want to do is I want to come in here, and if your SketchUp model is kind of default, then it's probably set to about 35 degrees field of view. And field of view is just how much stuff your camera picks up. And so a lot of the time for interiors, what you need to do is you need to come in here and adjust this field of view. So what you do is you kind of set your camera where you want it to be, and then you come over here to the zoom tool, And if you hold the shift key and click and drag, you can adjust your field of view so you can see more stuff with your camera. And obviously you don't want to do that too much because you can see how this gives me distortion in here. But I'm going to go ahead and set this to probably, we'll start with 50 for right now. We can always come in here and adjust that later. But basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a view, and I'm going to add a camera angle in here that I can just keep coming back to. And so basically the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to come in here, and once I've got my camera where I want it to be, I'm going to go to View, Animation, and Add Scene. And since I already have a scene in here, I'm just going to update the scene that I have. So I'm just going to right click on this scene and click Update. And now, no matter where I go, what I do, if I click on that scene, you're going to come in here back to the camera angle that you want. And one other thing you're going to want to do is for this camera angle, you're going to want to go ahead and unhide those walls that we hid before. So just come in here to Edit, Unhide All. And then you can use the look around tool to pivot your camera without moving, but just turn around and make sure those walls are back in here in this model now. And once those are in here, you can just come in here and right click on your scene and click Update. And now anytime you go to that view, you'll be in this camera angle and those walls will be in place. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to run our test render. So come up here to this green button that just says render, click on that, and then click this drop down where it says render preset and select preliminary. And what that means is this is going to run a real fast render, just like this. So select preliminary, then come in here, click the play button. And what that's going to do is that's going to run your first render in here. So you can kind of get an idea of the way your composition looks and stuff like that. And you should always run your original renders or your first renders on that preliminary just so it doesn't take very long. So you can kind of see that you've got your materials in here, you've got your couches, you've got your chair, you've got some kind of shadows showing up. You can see this shadows getting cast along this wall. So you can get kind of an idea of what your image composition looks like, and then you can come in here and start working on these other things. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to start adjusting materials. And we talked about this last week as well, but you're basically going to come in here and you're going to select this little paint bucket tool that says template materials. You're going to click on that. You're going to use a little eyedropper to start selecting materials. And so first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate the eyedropper and we're going to click on our glass. So this is going to pick the name of your glass, so translucent glass gray, and then you're just going to come in here and basically all we're going to be doing in this is just selecting templates and adjusting them. So for this one you're going to select templates, come down to architectural glass and just pick common, and that's usually what you're going to use when you're using kind of a normal glass like this. And you can see how your preview kind of updates with that new material. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to set the bump to SketchUp, just like this. And we're also going to come through and we're going to set our color to white. So just kind of drag this all the way down to the bottom. You can click on this little box right here. So that'll just be a white color. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to uncheck this box that says cast shadow, because we don't want our glass material to cast a shadow on the floor. And so what that's going to do is now you're going to come in here when you run this render, and this glass material is going to act more like a glass than it was before. I mean, it was already translucent, but it's going to let the light in differently. It's also going to show some more reflections. So you can kind of see there's kind of a vague reflection of your bookcase or your wall shelving over here in your glass. It's also got a really kind of vague reflection of your chair. So you can see how that's acting more the way we want it to. So that's a good start. And then we're just going to come in here. We're going to do the same thing for basically every material in this section. So like for this couch, for example, you're going to select that. You're going to come in here and you're going to pick a textiles and a fabric color. And then come in here and set your bump to SketchUp. And basically what the bump does is the bump roughens this material up so that, and it basically uses the image from the model in order to do that. So it roughens this up so it looks more realistic. So it's going to adjust the bump in here, just like that. So that's going to be a good setting for that. And so then we're going to come in here and we're going to use this wood in here, and we'll make this a flat wood for right now. So it's not going to be super shiny or anything like that. We just want to set it so that it reflects a little bit. Then you're going to come in here, you're going to select the metal on this chair, and you're just going to pick a metal, and we'll just call this stainless steel. material. The same thing, set that bump to SketchUp. Then you're going to come over to this plastic. You're going to pick a plastic preset, and we're going to pick shiny on this one. We want this to be kind of a shiny plastic. Set the bump to SketchUp, just like this. So you can see how now that's going to be a shiny plastic. We can go ahead and set the metal on this chair to like an aluminum type metal. Bump to SketchUp. We'll set our tile, our floor tile, to kind of a glossy tile. Just like this. And if you don't like the shininess of your tile, then you can come back in here and adjust the shininess a little bit later by adjusting this box right here. But we'll leave it as is for right now. And then we'll select this wood material on the wall. That's not going to be very shiny, so we'll make that a flat wood. But you can see how even when I set it as a flat wood, it'll start reflecting light a little bit better. Just like that. So that should have been all the materials in our model right now. So let's go back in and run another test model, or another test render. So make sure this is set to preliminary. Then go ahead and click that play button and let it kind of run. What you're going to find is you're going to find your materials are going to respond a little differently to light now. Like for example, you can see how this chair is a lot shinier, as well as the metal on the chair is a lot shinier. And you're going to get some kind of black dots on here on a preliminary render, and that's okay. You can go ahead and let it do that. And so if we were a little closer to these materials right here, we'd be able to see that those are rendering a little bit more like they're rendering a little bit more like an actual fabric material, and you can see how everything's actually casting light and all that other stuff. So like for example, if I was to come in here and run this on more of a medium, it'll take a little bit longer because it's going to do more with the light, but it'll look more realistic. So I'll let this run for a second. Alright, there we go. So you can see how that took a lot longer than the preliminary model, so that's why we don't do it for just kind of testing the way that our renders look. But you can see how now there's a whole lot less like graininess and distortion in here. You can see how the aluminum kind of reflects light over here on this chair, and the plastic looks a lot more realistic. So you can see how this gives us a lot of realism with our shot. But the one thing I don't really like is the way the sky looks. It just doesn't look very realistic or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a sky material to the background to kind of finish this model off. So, or to finish this render off. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our environment editor, which is the little cloud with the sun behind it up here. And you can see how the preset here is the physical sky in SketchUp. And so that's just using the sky background in here as the background, and also to kind of create the lighting and all of that. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to use a spherical sky that you can download. And so you're going to come down here to the option that says spherical sky. And we're going to download a spherical sky. I've talked about this a couple times from a website called Kirkathea, and I'll link to that in the notes below. But basically you're going to go to the download section of Kirkathea.net, KERKYTHEA.net, and you may have to add your name and email address to download these now. This wasn't the way that this was last week, so they may have added this recently. But you're basically going to come to the download section, and you're going to download the folder called Basic Skies. So when you go to that page, you're going to go to downloads. You may have to enter your information now, but then you're going to download Basic Skies just like that. And that's going to download a zip file full of a couple different sky images that you can use in the background just like this. And so once you download that and you put that in a folder, and I'm actually just using the same folder every week now because I've already downloaded these, but you're going to want to go to that folder in the Basic Skies section. You're going to want to set the morning sky. So it's going to be the one labeled morning, just like that. So double click that, and then what's going to happen is your preview is going to show up with these clouds in the background. So now when you come in here and you do your render, and we're going to go ahead and set this back on preliminary just like this, but you're going to go ahead and hit that play button, and what it's going to do is now you're going to have clouds on the outside of your building instead of just the SketchUp sky. So it looks a lot more realistic. and I don't necessarily like the way that it placed this cloud. And so what you can do is you can come in here and you can adjust that. But you can see how now it's got a cloud out here in the background, and everything just looks a little bit more realistic in here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to set our sky rotation to 90. And so basically you can see how that changed everything. Basically what this is it's a sky that's 360 degrees around your model as far as your rendering is concerned. So you can come in here and you can set different values to adjust which clouds are showing up. So like I could set this to 270, and you can see how the clouds are a little different than if I was to set it to 180. So we're going to go ahead and try setting this on 270 and see what it does. So we'll run a preliminary render, and we'll let it run real quick, and let's see what the sky looks like. See, I like that a lot better. It's just a little bit more, I just like the way the clouds sit in here a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and let this finish the basic render. And so now this is kind of set, you know, the way that we want it to be in general. So we've got all our stuff set. We've done a preview to make sure our materials look the way they want, the way the sky, we've made sure the sky looks the way you want, all that different stuff. So now what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to run a more sophisticated render, which is going to take a while. So make sure you have some time before you do this. But you're either going to come in here and you're going to select one of these presets, like the medium or the high or something like that. Or generally speaking, a lot of people use this interior progressive render. And basically what interior progressive render means is it means this is just going to keep running until you stop it. But it's a lot more realistic than kind of the normal renders would be. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to set my image height a little higher. So I think I'm going to set this to, we'll do 1280 by 720. I think. And remember that you can come in here with the binoculars, and this will kind of show you, you see these lines in here. It'll basically show you kind of what your field of view is going to look like in your image. So you can use that to work on your composition a little bit if you want. So you can kind of move this over. So maybe I don't even want to show this second couch, and maybe put this chair as kind of the middle of my material right here. And remember that the way this works is you're kind of using the rule of thirds, which is the interesting things in your model should kind of sit at a third. If you were to divide your model up into thirds like this, so if you were to split it here and here, the interest points should be kind of on the intersections. So I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to come in here, kind of adjust the way that I'm looking at this a little bit. You know, now that I've moved everything around, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select none. I'm going to run another preliminary render real quick just to make sure my composition still looks okay. This is basically just me setting my final camera angle before I do my final render. Alright, so the only thing I don't like is for some reason the sun in the spherical sky is floating right here. So that looks kind of weird. So I'm going to come back in here, rotate down just a little bit, run another quick render. And again, I'm sure you've noticed there's a whole lot of trial and error involved in working with renders like this. The key is to not waste your time doing high quality renders until you kind of got everything set up the way that you want it to do. So make sure you get everything set up the way that you want it before you run your final high quality render, which is basically what I'm doing right here. There we go. So, and that's basically what I want. You've got a little bit of a reflection of your sky on the floor here. Your plastic material looks good over here. As far as I'm concerned, everything looks pretty good. So what we're going to do now is, you know, once you've kind of set the size of your image, like I have right here, you're just going to go to Interior Progressive, and you're just going to go ahead and you're going to click Play. So, and again, this is after you have everything the way that you want it. And what this is going to do is it's going to go in and it's going to do a much higher quality render than the preliminary one you were running right there, but it's going to take a lot longer. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this run for a while. And it's going to do multiple different passes in here. You can see how it starts off kind of black and dark and all of that. That's just because it's starting to apply the light to your model. But you're going to have to let this run for a while. I've seen people that have let it run overnight and all of that. I'm probably going to let it run for 20 minutes or something like that, and then we'll kind of go from there. Alright, so you can see this has gotten pretty detailed in here, and you can sit and let this run for a while longer. I'm just kind of running out of time this morning. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up here to this option that says save a copy of the rendered image. You go ahead and click on that, and then you can just kind of find your location of where you want to save that image, and then just come in here and you can just call this scene or render 1. To go ahead and save a copy of that. Now you'll have a JPEG image of this. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and click stop on here. And remember, if you click stop, there's really no way to start it back up. So don't click stop until you're done. But I'm pretty happy with the way this image turned out in general. So, but again, I mean, as soon as you click stop, you can't start it up again. For whatever reason you need to pause it, you can click this pause button and resume, but don't click stop unless you're done. So anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Are you getting into rendering? Do you like these tutorials? Am I missing some stuff in here that you'd like to hear about? I just love having that SketchUp conversation with you guys. So leave that comment below. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you really like what I'm doing on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps, even if it's only $1 a month. That just helps me keep bringing you great SketchUp content. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.